Hey, MotoAmerica fans, this is Jake Gagne. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the MotoAmerica YouTube channel for more coverage, and like, comment. Let's go.
With 5 consecutive wins, no one can deny that Jake Gagne has taken control of this championship.
We're coming off second in the championship last year, so all we want to do is move that spot up once, and I know I got the team, I got the Yamaha.
But last year's Stock 1000 champ is stamping the name Cam Peterson on both the field and the podium.
I'm never going to have an opportunity like this again with the crew and the bike, and so I'm ready to go.
Another MotoAmerica race awaits, this time at the Ridge. It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. From the Ridge Motorsports Park in Shelton, Washington, it's the Komatsu MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Ridge. Hello everyone, welcome to the HONOS Superbike class and welcome to the booth. I'm Greg White standing alongside Jason Pridmore, 2-time champ. And Jason, as we prepare for this HONOS Superbike race, it is hot outside.
Yeah, it is hot, and we're happy to be inside where we are right now. But for these teams and these riders, the start's getting ready to go, and you got to really get yourself mentally prepared to operate in these conditions.
Let's take a look at the championship standings as they are right now. As you can see, Jake Gagne leads. He was in second place when we went to the last race. Matthew Skoltz moves down to second. And then Josh Herron stays where he is, but it's Cam Peterson who's on the march as well.
Absolutely. Cam comes off his first 2 podiums ever in Superbike at Road America, gets a third and backs that up with a second the second day. He's the guy on the move, qualified third here today. And Cam just seems like he's starting to gel with this motorcycle now. And you can see this was the battle that we saw at Road America. Loris Baz, Bobby Fong, and Cam all kind of came across the line together. He came up just short that day, ends up third instead of second. But on the second day, did a really nice job. He held on to Gagne at the beginning, actually took the lead down going towards turn 5 at the start. At the end of the day, he ends up second, 2 solid podium finishes. We saw him a little unhealthy at the beginning of the year from a training accident, but since then, Greg, he's been on a roll.
The ladder of classes working here in MotoAmerica from Stock 1000 to Superbike, and you can see how it started. And then there was a little bit of a hiccup for him at VIR, and then coming on strong at Road America. All eyes on Cameron Peterson. But let's get to the third member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa, who's on the grid in the heat. Hi, Hannah.
Greg, all eyes are on Cam Peterson. We've seen him make consistent progress throughout the year. Last weekend, he got his first 2 Superbike career podiums. Cam, we've been seeing you improve little by little over time here. What do you attribute to that success?
Honestly, I've got a lot of good people in my corner, and they just, they with me every step of the way, just telling me what I need to be focusing on. And I really just plan on working on my patience this year and taking it step by step, and it seems like that's kind of what we've been doing, and it's been working out. So yeah, our main thing is just to keep having fun and just take it step by step, be a little bit patient, and I know sooner or later we'll get up to Jake, but for now it's kind of seems like it's the best of the rest. So really looking forward to this race. It's hot out, so yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to watch. I think the bikes are going to be moving around quite a bit, so really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Cam. And Greg, this is also the first front row start for Cameron Peterson in his Superbike career.
Yeah, it just keeps getting better and better, and it's all about that track time. But what awaits these HONOS Superbike riders? Jason Pridmore, a 2.5 mile, the Ridge.
It's a short little shoot down to that chicane, Greg, and then we go through turn 1. You can see turn 2 and 3 there. That car goes really uphill. Turn 6, long turn. Probably one of those places where we'll see these bikes moving around, especially on the exit, down to turn 7 and 8 downhill. Then a big uphill, 4th gear flat out, turn 9 to turn 10. Do a little piece on that in a minute. Into one of the slower corners, turn 11, very technical, into 12, and then down back to 13, 14, 15, where you come back down this very steep hill. So this is coming up over turn 10. This is flat out 4th gear, Jake Gagne in qualifying. You're going to see when he goes to the brake lever, Greg, he's got 49 degrees of lean angle still. He's going to go back 3 gears, make a body position change. He's going all the way back to 1st gear here. But what I found really interesting, his greatest amount of brake pressure is 11.5 bar. That's when he's upright, going down into turn 1 here. He's at 9.5 bar pressure, brake pressure that is, at 49 degrees of lean, and he's actually getting on the throttle, full throttle, at 49 degrees of lean. So as he comes out of this left-hander in 1st gear, the data actually shows that he gets to 100% throttle with still 49 degrees of lean angle.
Incredibly, and watching Jake Gagne smooth himself out this season compared to last season is one of the reasons we are seeing it. But Another look at the Ridge. We get to take a lap with Roger Hayden on the Ducati Fast Lap.
I'm on board the Ducati V4S. Let's look at some corners to watch for here at the Ridge, starting with the chicane. We've seen a lot of action here last year off the start. All the riders trying to funnel through there in the one line. Then also turn 7. This tricky blind right-hander that drops down. A lot of guys will use the water tank on the left to use a reference point getting into turn 8. Then turn 13. Maybe the slowest corner of any corners we go to on any circuit. Really hard braking. You'll see a lot of passes here. But the tricky part is making the pass and not running wide.
All right, thanks, Roger. We are 4 minutes away from a race start. Don't go anywhere. HONOS Superbike kicks off from the Ridge in a moment.
Fist bumping all around for Jake Lewis. He's going to be starting on from the 10th spot, so outside that third row. One of the guys to look for, and some of these guys right around here in this mix are battling for the Superbike Cup, like Travis Wyman.
Yeah, it's kind of a series within the series. A lot of the stock 1000 guys, Corey Alexander here, see Andrew Lee on the right, or it's kind of its own championship in the championship, and you'll see a lot of these guys not only get some extra track time, but get to do some longer races as well, try to make some extra money, and it's a good incentive for these guys.
Andrew Lee's looked strong this weekend. I could see the heat was getting to him when I saw him get on pit lane earlier. Max Flinders, we saw him have issues earlier in the week. I believe Max looking good on that Thrash Bike Racing Yamaha. Other guys to look for, some names in the field like Max Girardo, Danilo Lewis. You saw that 94 there just a moment, but looking more up towards the front. On that second row, I want to talk about a couple of guys. Josh Herron, one to look for. Matty Skoltz right there. Let's talk about Skoltz first. The number 11. You see it in his eyes. You see, I give him a hard time by that chest hair, and he's proud of that, by the way. But he hasn't quite looked like himself, has he, this weekend?
A little bit, but I think some of the things I've heard is that they were really working on their race pace and getting a lot of laps on the tire and not focusing on getting just that one quick lap, because they could tell by the temperatures this weekend that the setup and the tires being wore out is going to be a huge part into this race. You got to think about how quick these tires are going to get hot and get greasy.
Bobby Fong, he's one tough dude. He crashed big time. A whole side of his body was in a world of hurt. I asked him how he was. He said, I am perfect. He was putting on the Bobby Fong face when he was saying that, because he's wanting you to think he's perfect, but he's in some pain, but that dude can fight it through. He crashed a couple of days ago at the test. The bike totally burned up. They might have been able to save the swing arm, the engine itself, some of the hard parts, but that bike was a total loss. But he's injured out there. He qualified 6th fastest, but leave it to Bobby. Wait till he comes race time, and he'll put it in there.
He's always a guy. He knows when the lights go out. He always steps up. He's not had the season I think he would expect after how strong he was last year in his first season, and I think any race he could turn it around, and he hasn't been as quick as he liked this weekend, but he's a great rider, and he was somebody who's always trying their best no matter what.
You see the two of Josh Herron. There's a guy I want to talk about, because Richard said that we put him out at the wrong spot. He got behind somebody, and he can't have that one fast lap. That's the tough thing about waiting till the very end and try and get a qualifying lap. If you're behind somebody that could possibly hold you up at a particular time, you're not going to show yourself. For some reason, Josh Herron looked faster there towards the end of that qualifying and just couldn't put that fast lap in.
And he had some issues at the beginning of the qualifying, so he lost a little bit of time there, but qualifying 4th, I think the biggest thing for Josh Herron is trying to find that setup that he's comfortable with, that base setup. It looks like him and his team is still searching for that.
He's a guy that will definitely run in. Loris Baz going to be in second. If Herron can get up there, he's also a guy that's aggressive off the start. If he gets by you, he does not want you getting by him at all costs. And he's not afraid to hold you off for a while. Gagne, Baz, and Peterson, the front row. First start for Cam Peterson on that front row. We'll see if he can move up. He's finished second. He's finished third, looking for that first win. But somebody's got to beat Jake Gagne first.
Today's Superbike coverage is sponsored by HONOS, the apparel brand promoting talent within the adrenaline sports realm. And in part by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Back to Shelton, Washington. On Thursday, there was an official Dunlop tire test. Bobby Fong's bike hit the deck and caught fire. We got to send props out to Jeremy Coffey, the Washington native on the Speed Monkey Racing entry. Got the fire extinguisher, Jason, and tried to put the motorcycle out, and this is what that M4 X-Star Suzuki ended up like. But Bobby Fong obviously able to start the race because they had his second bike, and he's done pretty well for himself, Jason. Here's the grid. 39.5, the first rider and only rider into 39 is Jake Gagne, new track record and pole.
And then we got Baz and Peterson rounding out that front row. Herron looks good this weekend. Sculpt, Bobby Fong there in row 2, so they got that bike back to go. Not that one, but they got another one ready for him, Greg. Barbara Uribe and Dave Anthony round out row 3 with Lewis, Wyman, and DeBrino. A little further back, we got Michael Gilbert, Andrew Lee, and Corey Alexander, then Gerardo, Flinders, and Danilo Lewis. Coffey, Dunham, Ferris, Pinkstaff, Kuna, and Mermet, I think, round out that field for us, Greg. So this all important. This is probably one of the most important starts of the year, getting down to turn 1 first here at the Ridge.
HONOS Superbike, race number 1 on deck. Lights are off, we are going racing, and the 32. Great launch from Jake Gagne. Into turn number 1 they go, the chicane. And it looks like Cam Peterson launched himself into second spot.
Somebody's got their arm up over on the left. That's Hector Barbara. So he did a good job. Oh, Baz gets a little bit out of shape, but keeps it on track. That's going to run. It looked like, I can't tell who that is in fourth. Is it Josh Herron in fourth? Ran him a little bit wide, but Baz just got a little bit out of shape there, Greg, as they came out of that turn 2 area. Baz's bike looks like it's moving around a lot early.
So Loris Baz, they've been struggling with a full fuel load, something they've been working on all weekend as the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York team. Doesn't look like they've got that problem solved just yet as Baz comes under fire. It's Josh Herron, the number 2 on that fresh and lean attack performance. Yamaha will take the spot.
Tremendous move and a lot of commitment from Josh Herron there to go around the outside in 6 and set himself up going down a hill that G's out the bikes. And you can see here, he moves himself up to 3rd. Now he's going to go to 2nd. He's going to slide right up underneath Cam Peterson, who opens that door. Herron up to 2nd right now. We have attack Yamaha's 1-2. Baz now
Baz
attacking everybody.
He's trying.
Peterson in front, but picks it back up and keeps it going. Herron probably saved that on his knee there.
It is getting messy for the battle for 2nd. All the while, Jake Gagne loving this, not even knowing what's going on behind him, but he just keeps eking away. The interesting thing is going to be when they come across start-finish line. What's the gap from 1st to 2nd? What a crazy opening lap this has been.
Look at that gap, though, Greg. We saw him do this at the last round at Road America, where he went 14-1, I believe it was there. He's gone 14, what's he done here? 2:14.9 it says for Gagne, but I don't think that's right, obviously, but he has pulled out a 2-second lead.
Yeah, it's going to be more like a 142 or 143 on the opening lap.
Oh, and there's again for Baz, same exact spot. So you got to wonder what is going on with the Ducati right now. Look how loose that bike is. Now, Greg, both times he's gone through that turn 2 area, the bike has got extremely loose on him. Herron is now on the back of him again.
Like what Cam Peterson's doing in 2nd place, the number 45 M4 X-Star Suzuki trying to break free of these riders. There's the number 11. Earlier, our championship points leader in the season, Matthew Skolton, that Westby Racing Yamaha R1.
Herron does it again. Just rides around the outside of Baz. Baz has no grip, so he rides around the outside of him. Herron gets him right back in the spot he got him before. Now he's going to have to put his head down to close that gap to Cam Peterson, but Gagne is gone.
I can tell you from being around the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati team, they know the issue at the beginning of the race, and they're working on it. Baz goes out and does first session 22 laps on a front tire in that practice that we had on Thursday, and they work on long runs. But Jason, in terms of the number 2, Josh Herron on that fresh and lean attack performance Yamaha, this is the race we've been waiting to see from Herron. A confidence booster, something that's going to prove to Josh Herron where he is, where we know he can be. And down the hill they come into turn 13, 14, 15, and 16. As you can see for a moment, the streak of Jake Gagne sailing off into the distance.
Yeah, but Herron has closed that gap right down to Cam Peterson. Here's Gagne, gauntlet. So his first flying lap, Greg, is going to be a 41.2. So the heat is definitely out as far as you remember him doing 39.5 this morning. Herron now in deep into the chicane. working on Cam Peterson. Runs it a little bit wide there. Talking to Richard Stamboli about an hour or so before this race, he was saying he expected some good things from Josh Herrin. Said they've come up with some things that have made Josh a little bit more comfortable, and you can tell right off the bat here, he has pace. Herrin has a lot of pace right now. And look how much they pull away from Baz.
Yeah, Hannah.
Guys, getting more time on the bike for Josh Herrin between the Brainerd test last week and Thursday here has allowed him to really hone in on his riding, focus less on setup, because now they have a really comfortable base setup. He made a lot of progress this morning, and he's been working with Josh Hayes, and he said it's really helped him not overthink things because he really trusts Josh's advice.
Yeah, and what Hannah's talking about too is the Tuesday, Wednesday after as Herrin goes up the inside. He'll take over second position, but on the switchback, oh, look at the black mark that Cam Peterson left on the gas, trying to get back by Herrin. But on the Tuesday, Wednesday after we were at MotoAmerica, a lot of these teams went up to Brainerd, Minnesota, a race we're going to be racing at later on in the season, and they were able to test for 2 days. Then they came here and had a test on Thursday. Loris Baz trying to hold off the advancements of Matthew Skultz, who's shown some speed this weekend. But Josh Herrin impressing us right now, Jason. The question is, though, is how much abuse has he given the tires in these early laps? It may not show up now, but it might show up with about 4 or 5 to go.
Yeah, but when you have pace and you have guys in front of you that you need to pass, you need to go forward. And even if he's wearing the thing out a little bit right now, he's got a teammate some, well, let's see what it is now, 41.2, 41.9. So these guys, 41.9, 42 flat that time for Herrin, but they're 3.3 seconds behind Gagne already. Don't want to let him get away too much. Look at the acceleration that Herrin has coming out of that chicane area now as they head down here into turn 2. And, you know, Josh wants to get up front. He wants to get closer to his teammate. So, you know, we saw an early bobble. We saw him go up underneath, and then a mess between him and Baz and Cam all through 11 and 12. Herrin's done a tremendous job to get himself back to the front of that group and pulling away a little bit.
So Josh Herrin in second place. When we came by start-finish line, he was 3 seconds behind Jake Gagne. So it's Gagne, Herrin, the Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha teammates leading. Cam Peterson on the M4 X-Star Suzuki. And a season that Cam Peterson is having. Then you have Loris Baz and Matthew Skultz back there, and then Bobby Fong trying to close the gap. And then Corey Alexander in 7th over David Anthony, Jake Lewis, and Michael Gilbert, your top 10.
You can see there's the gap there from Gagne to the rest of these guys. Now, you know, for Herrin, he's just got to keep on hitting those marks, and you and I will keep a look on these split times to see if it looks like he's making any impression. And so far, Greg, just this lap, that number 2 of Josh Herrin has closed down a couple of tenths. Looks like Matthew Skultz had a slip up because he's fallen a little bit further back behind Loris Baz. Baz at the beginning of this race just didn't look like he had any grip to start with, so he has probably taken himself a little bit of a breather to get closer. And you can see here, Skultz has just lost a little bit of contact. So in that behind Baz on this lap, those 3 guys now have gotten away a little bit from the Skultz and Bobby Fong battle back there for 5th.
There was a lot of craziness in this first lap. Let's take a look at what happened again, Jason, left part of your screen.
Yeah, going down here into turn number 1. You can see everybody was able to funnel their way through and get in there. But this is how the race is basically gone. Herrin goes up underneath Cam. Now Baz is going to make a move underneath both of them in the very next turn. Watch Herrin to the right. He'll get him lose that front.
Wow, that was
he lost
so
the front
big.
so big. And now look what the kid's done. He's come all the way back and battled up to get himself up behind Gagne. Yeah, he's got 3 seconds back, but he's not letting that lead grow. It was 3.3 at one point. Now it's 3.0.
I mean, that save by Herrin was huge. I mean, it wasn't Johnny Ray, Marc Marquez huge, but it was along those lines, showcasing the talent of Josh Herrin, the 31-year-old out of California.
The one thing that's different is that's a really slow corner. So it's a lot harder to save that in a slow corner than if you have a turn with a lot of momentum where that gyro wants to keep spinning straight. So that was a really good save, and it'll be one he'll look back on if he ends up putting this bike on the podium today.
Yeah, the gyroscopic effect of the front wheels Jason's talking about. No dramas for Herrin on that little wheelie setting it down. But now as this race starts to settle in, Jason, what we just saw was Josh Herrin, Cam Peterson, and Loris Baz set their fastest personal laps of the race. Now Jake Gagne on lap 2, which was about 2.5 laps ago, he set the fastest lap at a 1:41.2. But Herrin had just done a 1:41.5. We'll see what he's up to now, because we can see on our screens that he's been doing some pretty impressive splits. Is Josh Herrin going to take anything out of his teammate who's 2 seconds up the road? A 41 flat for Herrin. So that's the fastest lap of the race so far. And the gap is now down to 2.8 to his teammate Jake Gagne.
Yeah, and that's going to give him a lot of confidence, not seeing Gagne just disappear off out into the distance. And you got to think, had he not had that little bit of a first lap he had, that distance might be half of what it is, and he could be pacing his teammate a little bit more. So this is where he's got to start to remember. We got six laps through out of 17. He's just got to keep grinding out these middle laps and try to keep that distance somewhat constant. Put enough pressure on your teammate to remind him that you're there. Pretty much all year when Gagne's taken the lead, he's watched that pit board on that front straightaway go up incrementally every single lap. Right now, it's coming down. So that's going to send off a warning to Gagne that Herrin's on the move and he's able to do the lap times.
For Jake Gagne, every time he's finished a race in MotoAmerica, he's won. And Jason, we've talked about it, how smooth he is, how confident he is. And yesterday in qualifying, in provisional qualifying, it was Loris Baz who was sitting on provisional pole. Then I come to find out that Gagne and his team were just doing long distance laps. Didn't even focus on doing a fast lap. And then all of a sudden he uncorks a 39.5 this morning in qualifying to break the outright lap record. Impressive times. But Jason, I think Jake Gagne is doing what we think he would do, kind of what we thought he was going to do. I would say the most impressive ride on the racetrack right now has got to be by the number 2, Josh Herrin. He's shown speed straight out of the box. I talked to him on Friday morning, Josh Herrin, and the thing that Herrin told me, Jason, was he woke up in the morning, Friday morning, and he said to himself, I can win this race. And it's that mental aspect of it that's really set the tone for the weekend for the number 2, Josh Herrin.
No question. He made a small mistake there at the top of the hill, and that's what affected that lap time. He was on a good lap again. He ends up going 41.7, allows Gagne to pull out half a second, but Herrin's pushing, and he made the smallest little mistake at the top of that hill. It just slowed his momentum down in that last split. So, but he's back on it now. Gagne responds with a 41.284, so he's only 0.03 off of his fastest lap. So this is what happens, Greg. When Gagne sees that board and it's not changing, it's going to make him push harder. That's exactly what Herrin wants to be able to do. Continue to let the 32 know, hey, I'm back here and I'm running the exact same lap times. And his bike works really good down in this little section here. You can see it G's out really hard as they tip into turn number 8. Now again, there's 2 quick short shifts here. 3rd to 4th. This is a wide open 4th gear for all these Superbikes as they go up over the top of this hill.
So Josh Herrin continuing to put in work in his new workout regimen. Coming in here physically with a ton of confidence. Then there's Cameron Peterson on the 45. Baz looking for that fuel load to drop to see if he's got enough tire. And there's Schulte. Matthew Scults on that Westby Racing. Oh, Bobby Fong having a look around. So he started to drop off when he was starting to put some pressure on Scults. So we're not sure what's going on with Bobby Fong on his M4X Star Suzuki.
Again, it's just been a really strange year for Bobby, and you can see he's kind of touring right now, just looking back on something on the bike. Got up to speed fairly quick. After that accident that day, he went out and went really fast, and you can see he's got something that's not making him happy. I'm not sure what it is. We'll have to keep an eye on the number 50. Matthew Scults also, just looking on our timing screen, Greg, Matthew didn't come through in 4th that time, or 5th, so we'll have to just check. Maybe he just didn't trigger the transponder when they went through.
All right, Jason, you talk about responses from Jake Gagne. Fastest lap of the race recorded when that pit board came out and said someone's catching him, and he extends that lead back out to 3.5 seconds, so 141.061 now, the mark in this race for fastest lap of the race. Last year, Cameron Beaubier did a 140.602 in much more favorable conditions than we have in terms of the heat. But a freshly paved Ridge Motorsports Park here in Shelton, Washington has proven a favorite for a lot of riders with no bumps and really kind of a glass smooth surface and a lot of traction. It's been awesome. But now look what's happening here. Yeah. Cameron Peterson's on the way.
He just keeps chugging along. 41.131 for Cam Peterson. Gagne sets the fastest lap of the race at a 41 flat. Now we're looking back. There is Matthew Scults. He, for whatever reason, didn't trigger the transponders on the way through.
Welcome in our Major League Baseball audience. Texas defeating Kansas City, and now you're watching HONOS Superbike race number 1 from the Ridge Motorsports Park here in Shelton, Washington. It's the Komatsu MotoAmerica Superbikes at the Ridge, and we're looking at number 11. That is Matthew Skultz on the Westby Racing entry. And Jay, what's going on with Skultz?
Nothing's going on. He's obviously out there, but on our timing and scoring screens, I don't see him up. So maybe, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but he is running 5th right now behind Loris Baz. You saw Loris Baz just go through the screen in front of him right now. Bobby Fong is running a very distant 6th to him. He's quite a ways back because we saw him have a problem. But Matthew Skultz is still out there. We weren't sure where he went because he was disappearing off our board.
So Jake Gagne is leading this one by 4 seconds on the fresh and lean attack performance Yamaha. His teammate Josh Herrin is in 2nd spot, but close behind him is Cameron Peterson on the M4X Star Suzuki. There's your race leader. Unbelievable, the performance that Jake Gagne has put on this season. This is our 7th race of the season, and Gagne has won 5 in a row and is checking out of this one.
Well, the big thing right now is I'm watching Cam Peterson, and he's able to run these lap times, low 41s. He's going to do what he can to try to get by Josh Herrin. Now, on some of these cutbacks, you saw Gagne when we came back on and we saw him, our first shot at Gagne, he went through turn 11 and looked over to the left. You can actually look over and see your competition coming the other direction at this track, and that's a little bit of a way to feel a little bit more secure about what you're seeing on the board. You can see what 2 or 3 or 4 seconds even looks like. As Gagne goes off into the chicane here, he goes 41.5. Guys behind him are 41.7, 41.6. So Herrin and Peterson are fully locked and engaged now. So Peterson's got to do what he can to see if he can get by Herrin and then try to run down the leader. He still has 8 laps to go, which would be a big ask, obviously, 4.2.
Cameron Peterson, the 45, his first Superbike podiums just a couple of weeks ago at Road America, where he got 3rd and 2nd. And he's trying to reel in the number 2. The former Superbike champion, Josh Herrin, who all of a sudden has just had this great surge of speed and confidence coming into the Ridge here in Shelton, Washington.
I don't know if there's anybody harder to pass than Josh Herrin. I mean, he will just attach himself to you, and you can see he's still running great lap times, 41.7 for the number 2, only 4.2 back to the leader. But Cam's going to have to get real creative with where he wants to try to do this. I mean, you can see Herrin carries a lot of speed in there. That's a spot where guys will try to go up underneath, but Herrin carries too much speed there. Coming down into here, this is where we saw Herrin lose the front really big at the beginning and pull it back and then end up going by people. And then down into here is a very difficult spot to pass on, and Herrin's good on the brakes.
Down into turn 13, kind of a mini corkscrew for those familiar with WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, which we'll be visiting later on in the year. And then down to the bottom, turns 14. This is 15, and then you flick it back right, turn 16 onto the front straightaway, where we have a chicane built in here for MotoAmerica competition. You see riders getting on the brakes just before they cross start finish line. That time by the stripe, a 141.8, but 142 for Cameron Peterson.
Love how Herrin's able to get out of that chicane on a little bit tighter line and get the power to the ground. You can see he makes up some time on Cam Peterson on the exit of that turn, and then he really is able to roll it all through here. And it makes it really hard for Cam to make a solid plan of where he wants to try to go by, Greg.
And Jason, for Cameron Peterson, they tried so many different things during the tire test on Thursday, throw big changes at it to kind of weigh their options, and they were really struggling with the ride height. He used to have it up kind of higher, and they found a happy medium, but in doing that, they lost some of that rear grip, so they went for a stiffer rear spring to kind of make up for some of their grip. So it's just a matter of seeing how he'll manage that through the end of the race. He wanted to be really aggressive off the start, but then also finding that balance for the full race distance.
Yeah, and speaking of Thursday's test, Hannah, when we look at number 2, Josh Herrin on that fresh and lean attack performance Yamaha, and speaking with Richard Stamboli, his crew chief, after a couple days of testing at Brainerd and then the 1 day of testing here, Josh Herrin actually requested a different bike. So this is the backup bike. Now here in MotoAmerica, in the HONOS Superbike class, it's a 1-bike rule, but you have a second bike that's in the truck ready to go. And so this is a new motorcycle for Josh Herrin beginning the first session this week. And Josh really seems to have found a rhythm. And Jason, when you have two motorcycles, even though they're built identical, they don't often feel exactly the same, do they?
No, they're always going to have little idiosyncrasies between them that one's not going to quite feel like the other. So, but this one looks like it's working really nicely for Herrin at the moment. I mean, he's able to keep these lap times consistently in the 41s. He's not seeing his teammate just continue to pull away from this battle for second. Gagne's out front, I believe, controlling the pace. Obviously, he's at 4.3 seconds, but it hasn't changed a lot over those laps. So this is going to give number 2 a lot of confidence, Herrin, as he continues out throughout the year. And Cam Peterson right now is just probably still scratching his head of where am I going to try to do something here with 5.5 laps left to go. Peterson gets the thing really backed into turn 6. This turn here is one of the longest ones we see on our calendar. It's going to be all second gear as they come out of here. The Yamahas actually go up to third on the way down that little hill and then back to second here.
I mean, the biggest thing if you're Cam Peterson looking ahead at Josh Herrin is you know when you pass him, he's going to fight you back at the next corner no matter where it is. So it's got to be a place where Cam Peterson would feel, I think, Jason, that he could kind of pinch off the counterattack from Herrin.
Has to be decisive, you know, and that's the whole thing, is you've got to be able to pick your spot exactly where you want to try to get the job done. Because, like you say, Herrin's going to fight right back no matter what you do. He's going to come right back at you. So there's a lot of places at this track that you can get up underneath somebody and kind of dictate how they're going to finish the exit of the corner. Here's one of them, the 2 tight ones before this. So there are some places that you can do it, but it's just a matter of getting close. And right now, Cam's just not close enough.
Yeah, and also when you look at acceleration off the corner, right now with the way the Yamaha is geared, with the electronics and the way that they accelerate, it seems like Josh Herrin's able to get the power to the ground sooner and more of it. As Peterson, a little mistake into the chicane, that's going to cost him some time.
But that's the pressure you get put under when you're trying to hit it, trying to chase a guy who's consistently doing things right in front of you. I mean, Herrin is just really hard. Not only is he hard to pass, but he's not making any mistakes. He's just riding a perfectly clean race. His lap times are the same as the leader right now. That time he was actually 0.2 quicker than his teammate out front. So when you look at it, it makes it really hard to pass him, and you can see that gap that he opened up just by that small mistake. When you have as many slow first gear corners as we have here, and we have about 4, it makes it very hard to consistently get through some of those slow corners as slow as you need to go. So you're trying to make up time on the brakes all the time, just like Cam did there, and he ran a little bit wide in the chicane, and that gap opened up.
So for Josh Herrin, who we're looking at right now, he's opened the year, Jason, with 3 third-place finishes. So it's been since Virginia International Raceway, race number 1, that we've seen Herrin on the podium. Boy, talking to Richard Stamboli, I can tell you this is going to be a huge confidence builder.
Well, I think the biggest thing for Josh is just bringing the thing and seeing his teammate, like I said, not get that far away, but what he's learning right now. How much is he getting out of this motorcycle over race distance? Things that he can go back on and look when they go through the data this evening of what they can do to close this gap and continue to close the gap. When you have a teammate that you can see out in front of you on the exact same bike, your goal is to try to get obviously up there with him, and they're going to be able to look at some of the things that Jake does, some of the things that Josh does, hopefully put a package underneath Herrin tomorrow that'll be a little bit better so that he can try to run a little bit more consistently with Gagne.
And speaking of a package underneath him, that is working perfectly. The number 32, Jake Gagne, just having his way right now, able to do the times he wants in the way he wants and manage that tire all the way to the end as we have 4 laps remaining in this race. Josh Herrin has been stuck, Jason, right about the 4-second buffer between his teammate. And by the way, if you're new to HONOS Superbike racing, watching it for the first time, the only communication the rider gets, other than the ability to turn around and look back like you've seen, Jason, especially in some places here, is a pit board when they come across start finish line. That's going to give them the information of, hey, you have this much gap, there's this many laps. It depends on what the rider and the team want to see on that board. But Jake Gagne, every time that Josh Herrin has put some pressure on him, has answered.
No, there's no question. And I think that, when you look at it's 4.2. Gagne's kind of found that pace that he feels like if he can run that pace, nobody's going to be able to really catch him. So that 41 mid is a good pace right now for Gagne, and Herrin's able to match that. Now, if you were to see Herrin really close up, I think that Gagne might just step that up again a little bit. And here a little bit further back, you can see Bobby Fong has fallen into the clutches of Dave Anthony. This is Fong in 7th. Dave Anthony just behind him. Obviously, Fong had a little bit of a problem. We've seen Corey Alexander go by Fong, and he's gone up the road a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Bobby at the moment, but obviously, Greg, we know he's got a problem. This is going to be now coming down through turn 9. Dave Anthony just looking for a way through. You can't see really anybody behind these guys. A little bit further behind them would be Jake Lewis and Jason Uribe. And here's Corey Alexander. He's going to be the first of our Superbike Cup competitors right now. Got a little bit of a lonely ride. He's got Matthew Skoltz some 20 seconds plus up ahead of him. And now he's got a little bit bigger lead on that gap behind him, probably 6-7 seconds on Fong.
Corey Alexander doing a great job in our Superbike Cup Stock 1000 competitors. Back up front we go to Jake Gagne, getting into some lap traffic. And Jason, you've been in this position in your career in years past with the heat, the extreme heat that we have here at the Ridge, unexpected in the Pacific Northwest. This has to be a long race for Jake Gagne. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, you're just sitting there and you're clicking off the laps and you're counting them down, and it looks like that's Hector Barbara just in front of him. No, maybe not. Hector did get back out, though. I did see him roll back out. But yeah, the heat that you have today, Greg, is pretty hot. And when we saw, you know, Pacific Northwest is known for rain and, you know, maybe 70 degrees, this is definitely unwelcome for the riders. But Gagne's just doing his thing, pacing himself. He said this morning he has no worry. The hotter, the better for him.
Yeah, part of Jake Gagne's training regimen. He's got a new dog that they rescued, and he now lives in Durango, Colorado. Used to be California for a long, long time, really for most of his life. And he gets on big hikes up big mountains with the dog and gives him a workout. Hannah?
Yeah, Greg, and talking to Jake Gagne, I said, when you're on such a hot streak like this, what more work is there to be done? And he said, really, they're just working on understanding the tires in the heat. I talked to Richard Stamboli. He said they do have a pretty good electronics plan to help manage tire wear to the end. But like you were saying, Jake feels really good in this type of heat, and he knows the work done on the bike is going to hold up for the middle to the end of this race.
Yeah, we talk often about how, you know, racing is 90% mental at some point in this, and Jake Gagne just kept saying, the heat's not bothering me, Jason. The heat's not bothering me. I'm good. I'm fit. I know I am.
Yeah, he's training at elevation now as well, so it definitely will help him in that regard. And as far as the heat goes, and he came off the track after qualifying today, he's like, the hotter it gets, the better for me. I'm fit. I'm ready to go. He's got a lot of confidence in his bike and in his team, and he's riding just so much different than he rode last year. Even talking, like I said, I talked to Stamboli, and we were discussing just how much smoother Jake looks, how much better he looks on the bike. All of his movements aren't quite as aggressive as they were last year while he was trying to chase Cam Peterson. You can look at the consistency here of his lap times. Every lap's in the 41s. That 41 flat came on lap 7, but everything's just been rolling along in the 41s. You see him look over to the left again. You can see his teammate Heron there in second place when he does that. So he's just controlling this right now, and these lap times are coming very easy for him.
So Jake Gagne continues to have a 4-second lead over his teammate Josh Heron, Cameron Peterson in third. Then Loris Baz, who was fighting early, 11.5 seconds behind Gagne. He's in fourth over Skoltz, Corey Alexander, David Anthony got around Bobby Fong, then Jake Lewis, Jason Uribe, your top 10. This should be the white flag for Jake Gagne. Managing 2.5 miles around the Ridge Motorsports Park for Gagne to cap off 6 race wins in a row. Jason, did you think we'd see such domination this early in the season?
I didn't. I mean, when we saw the schedule and the riders that were going to be riding, we thought, oh, there's going to be about 5 guys that can win races, and this guy just wants no part of that. And right now, it's just a little bit too easy for Gagne. He's just riding superb. But this is what happens, Greg. You know, great rider, great team. I was just looking at the data this morning from his bike, and some of the things that Stamboli was showing me was just really fun to look at and try to relate as much as you can. And what Gagne, he's just on a high. He's on a high. He saw what Cam Beaubier did on this team with this motorcycle, and he learned a lot from that. And yeah.
Yeah, what the freshly attack performance Yamaha rider Jake Gagne is doing right now is nothing but masterful. Last year, Cameron Beaubier, who's off in Moto2 World Championship, won 16 races and broke track records everywhere we've gone. We didn't think those track records were going to be broken for a while. But so far, at 4 different venues that we've gone to this year, Jake Gagne has broken a track record in some form or another, either outright track record or lap race record. And he's done it by winning 5 races in a row on his way to a 6th. To turn 13 he goes. Only 4 more corners to navigate for the 32. Jake Gagne, the 27-year-old, originally from San Diego, California, now a Colorado resident. Onto the front straightaway he goes. Another master class by Jake Gagne, and victory here in HONOS Superbike race number 1, and a second place, best finish of the season for the number 2 Heron, and another podium for Cameron Peterson. Oh, Corey Alexander, our 6th place rider, trying to finish up his laps as he has a look around. He's our stock 1000, or what we call the Superbike Cup leader in this race. 6th place for Corey Alexander, Jason. That's what a run.
Yeah, he's already had a race today as well, and so, you know, this is he's doing double duty. And for him, he got down into the 43s in this race, 43.8. And this is going to feel good for him in our Superbike Cup as far as the points go. Kind of a little separate points battle between a lot of our stock 1,000 riders. So he's going to be happy with the 6th place, his best result of the year in this Superbike race.
So Corey Alexander rolls across the line in 6th. So it's Jake Gagne, Josh Heron, Cam Peterson, Loris Baz will be clocked in as 4th. Matthew Skoltz, Corey Alexander, David Anthony. So Skoltz and his team will definitely be scratching their head. You can see the leathers unzipped and the heat that's going on. Can't even imagine what Corey Alexander and the Superbike Cup riders are going through, as they already had a long race earlier on in the day. But Jake Gagne, patting that fresh and lean attack performance Yamaha with good reason. And this team has been dialed in. All right, we're going to step away. Our post-race interviews will be exclusively on FS1. So make sure you check out FS1 after this break, because we're going to talk to Jake Gagne and find out how this race went for him.
6 wins in a row for Gagne, but look at the number 2. You see how happy Josh Heron is and his fans around the track. This is a race that, I know it sounds weird and he finished 4 seconds behind. I feel like this is a race that he possibly could have won if he would have got a better start initially, because Jake Gagne had a 2-second lead on that first lap, right?
That was the biggest thing. He already had 2 seconds that very first lap. And then also Josh had to make a couple passes, and then he had that other mistake where he fell back to 4th or 5th again, and then he had to come back through the field. His best lap was a 41.0, same as Jake Gagne. So I think if he would have got there, he could have, or got the start.
Who knows?
He could have maybe hung on, but who knows if Jake Gagne had a little bit left in the tank.
Yeah, but Josh Heron's still a solid ride, a second, his best finish of the year. He'd been in the top 5 at every race, but again, a second. He's working closer to that man right there, Jake Gagne, who, after that first race, he had a mechanical issue, and since then he has been untouchable. And Michael Hill was in here earlier, and he said, who's going there? He said, Jake Gagne, he going to be gone pretty quick. And that was the case once he got out in front. I knew that Josh Heron had more in him, in that bike. That Yamaha is working really well on this track. And you saw towards the end there with Cam Peterson, I think, you know, that bike and tire was kind of giving it up there towards the end, when it looked like Josh Heron still had a little bit more.
And you look at the gap, Josh Heron's only 4 seconds behind Jake Gagne. That's his closest one of the year.
He said
he said, yeah, we're getting there, and I think his bike was working a little better at the end of the race than Cam Peterson watching it. Yeah. We've seen Cam have a couple moments sliding around here and there, and that was smart of him to, you know, just bring it home.
There was a point in that race where I was like, okay, if Josh Heron can make up 0.2 of a second, or 0.2 of a second every lap, he could have caught up with Jake Gagne. He did for a couple laps, and then I think Gagne got the message, said, I need to turn it back up. But he kept managing those 41.8s, it seemed like. His best was a 41.0, but a 41.8 and 7, he just kept staying in that same spot. Cam Peterson, a strong run for him, another podium for him. You see Corey Alexander coming in the mix. Those two put on one heck of a run, and Team Yamaha looking good. But Cam Peterson, I'm still impressed by him and what he's doing.
Yeah, especially that race there. We were watching it. We were talking about the last couple laps. He was starting to slide a little bit, have a couple warnings, and you know, it's really smart not to just keep pushing over the edge, especially at a track like this where it's super hot and greasy. It would have been, you know, a big mistake to crash trying to, you know, get one spot when the bike's starting to give you the warnings that, you know, your tires are up, it's getting hot, and bring it home.
I think that Cam Peterson had that light go off in his head when he had that one little moment. We saw a little bobble out of Josh and then a bigger moment out of Cam. And you're right. I mean, put yourself in contention. We don't know how the rest of the series is going to pan out, but
Hey,
Cam
3 podiums in a row.
Yeah. And really his first real opportunity in HONOS Superbike. So he's doing a great job for the M4 X-Star Suzuki team. And again, we had some issues with Bobby Fong. He struggles again. Burnt the bike down 2 days ago. He had a podium in race number 1 at the first stop of the year in Atlanta, and no podium since. So and it's not for lack of trying with Bobby Fong either. It looked like he had some type of mechanical issue there with him. We'll have to find out more on that. So Jake Gagne looking back, seeing what's left in that Dunlop tire. It looked like he had plenty left in the body. Gagne, Herrin, and Peterson. Let's hear from them in a bit.
'Cause we're breaking new ground. We're breaking new ground.
What a race by the 32 Jake Gagne. Let's take a look at those results. As beautiful scenics here from Shelton, Washington. 4.1 seconds the margin of victory on a well-managed race by Jake Gagne. Cam Peterson in 3rd. Baz Skultz, Corey Alexander, David Anthony, Bobby Fong slips to 8th. Let's get right down to Hannah.
6 victories in a row for Jake Gagne. Jake, how were you able to manage in these conditions to pull off another victory and another great margin of victory?
It was a tough race, man. That was hot. Hats off to the Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha team. These guys are working so hard, and we did a lot of work this weekend. We came in here a little rough, but did a lot of work to prepare for these hot races. And hats off to Dunlop, because these tires were hanging in there killer for how hot it is. And yeah, I got off to a great couple first laps. My start was awesome. I saw my pit board, and it was just barely growing, but halfway it was staying right there. And I couldn't really tell who was behind me, but I figured it might be Josh and Cam. And again, hats off to the boys. Fresh and Lean, Yama Lube, NGK, OZ, Braking, Akrapovic, Track Days, Hustle Hard Racing, VP Racing, all the guys, all the fans for staying out here in this heat. Hats off to everybody watching at home. Thank you.
Congrats, Jake.
All right, Jay, what he was talking about, we didn't talk much about it, but at the test at Brainerd, Minnesota, Jake Gagne had a vicious high side, and he smacked his left hand, and the pad of his hand has been hurting him. And the team did everything they could to make it as comfortable for him as possible. Under hard braking is where he was suffering the most.
I really believe that the test on Thursday would have helped him with that. I know it sounds crazy, but like I've said in past things before, when you're hurt and you know you're going to ride the next day, it'll help you. Let's get back down to Hannah.
2nd place today goes to Josh Herrin. We definitely saw a much more confident rider today. You made a big step, Josh. What was it that made all the difference for you?
Mentally, I think. I think I'm finally believing that I can be there. I started working with Josh Hayes this weekend. I don't like to say we had a lot of battles whenever we were teammates, because he was doing a lot of winning and I was doing a lot of watching. But, he's taught me a lot this weekend at the test at Brainerd. The team has been working super hard. My mechanic, Will, is back home, hurt his back. We're missing him, but I got my 2013 championship mechanic here, Bryce. It's been awesome. Fernando's picked up a lot of duties this weekend. Got to thank Lee, Richard, Corndog, the entire team. Hats off to Jake for running a solid race. Hopefully tomorrow we can get up there in the start with Jake and try and hang on. He's running fast, but I think we have the pace. And yeah, just looking forward to a race tomorrow. So thank you to all the sponsors. As you can see right here, Fresh and Lean, Yamaha Racing, Attack Performance. I got to do this, sorry guys. Yama Lube, Yamaha Financial Services, all these guys down here. I really appreciate all the support. And yeah, can't wait to get back on track tomorrow.
Congrats, thanks Josh. Guys.
All right, so Josh Herrin, Jay talking about it. We mentioned it. And now with Josh Hayes in your corner, it's really working for Josh Herrin. And Jay, sometimes you just have to search for it.
Yeah, absolutely. The mental side of it is part of it. This guy already knows how to ride a bike. We just got to get that mental side from struggling. Let's get back down to Hannah.
3rd place today goes to Cameron Peterson. And Cam, at the start of this race on the grid, we talked about your plan to try and exercise patience. Would you say that you accomplished that in your battle with Josh Herrin?
Yeah, I think I did. Maybe actually a little bit too patient. He had some pace at the beginning of the race. I felt like I was actually holding the guys up the first 2 laps, and he came by me, and my plan was just to, try sit behind him, see where he's strong and where I was losing. And, yeah, he just kept gapping me, and then I kind of found my rhythm and got used to the tires and everything and started closing the gap back down. But yeah, I had a little mistake going into the chicane, I think with about 5 or 6 laps to go, and that was kind of the end of my race. So definitely settled down for third place, bring it home for the boys. But once again, I can't thank my crew enough. I mean, it honestly feels like the best crew in the paddock, and I'm so blessed to have them. So thanks to the whole M4 X-Star Suzuki team, Haggerty, Arai helmets, RST, Alpine Star boots and gloves, just everybody's my corner. Thank you guys.
Congrats, Cam.
All right, great job by Cam Peterson. Our coverage will continue. Our post-race coverage continues on FS1, so go check it out there. We'll be back to Shelton, Washington in a few moments.
Well, hearing a couple of things there, the boys talking about as they make their way up there to the podium. Michael Hill do the presentation for that. What'd you take away from some of the things? Because you and I both looked at it, and you know when Josh Hayes and Josh Herron are working together, it seems like oil and vinegar a little bit, doesn't it? But having them together and then seeing this result, did they figure something out?
It looks like it, because he's definitely, looks like a different guy in this race than we've seen before, and just so quick. And like you said, if he could have got off the start with Jake Gagne, unless Jake had more in the tank, it looked like he had the pace. It was kind of like the old Josh Herron we've seen before. He was super aggressive that first lap. If anybody left a little bit of room, he was coming in. And, racing is so much between the ears. It's so mental. A lot of guys are getting coaches now, and I think a lot of people don't understand the benefit of having somebody who can come there and show you some tricks of the trade of how to mentally prepare.
That's been there, that's done that, and won at the highest level many times.
And it can only be maybe 1 or 2 things that you didn't think of. Maybe it's how you talk to your crew. How do you explain to your crew what you need out of the bike?
Right, that's huge.
Or how do you break down the track, study and film? All that stuff leads into being more mentally prepared for the weekend, and a lot of guys are starting to get some coaches, and I don't understand why a lot of these other guys don't start getting somebody to come in and help them out.
It was a hot one out there today, but you saw those guys, they really weren't breathing. It shows you the athleticism and the fitness that they have in there, and as Jake had pointed out, the altitude, the hotter the better. I guess, training in altitude's helping. It's definitely not hurting.
Not at all. And when you're in shape like that, too, we talk about the mental hurdle. All the people that wasn't in shape and haven't been doing the work throughout the week, they were already dreading this race because it was going to be so hot.
Right.
When you put in the work and, you do all the stuff in between races to prepare, you don't care how hot it is on the race weekend. You're ready. You want the conditions to be like that because you feel like you're going to be stronger.
Looking through the pack after Gagne, Herron, and Peterson, Loris Baz finishes 4th. A little bit surprised there. I thought maybe as the race progressed and the temperatures kind of affected. I thought the bike might not have handled well. It didn't look like it handled well off the start, did it?
He was struggling a lot each lap right into turn 1. He kept losing the rear on the, right out of the chicane on the first lap. Going through turn 1, he had a big moment. The next lap, the same thing.
You saw it again, right?
And I guess I am a little surprised because his pace and practice was a lot better than that. So just looked like with the track temperatures, they just didn't. They were missing something.
Also missing something in a big way, Matthew Skoltz. I know our timing and scoring wasn't right. It was throwing him at 136s for a second. But one thing at the end, he was 19 seconds arrears from Jake Gagne on the same Yamaha-type bike. That's not the Matty Skoltz we're used to seeing.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't know if they're missing a setup or what it was, but Matthew Skoltz is something's going on there, whether he's not confident in the bike or what, because he's definitely a lot better rider than that, and he's got a lot better crew around him than that, so hopefully they can sort it out for tomorrow.
Tip of the cap to Corey Alexander, right, HVMC, 23-6th. A stock 1000 up there against the HONOS Superbikes. Let's send it back to Greg and Jason next door.
Today's Superbike race coverage has been sponsored by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Let's take a look at the Geico save of the day, Jason, because I think Josh Herron has probably got a couple of them.
Well, we saw the one out of turn 12 early in the race when he lost the front as big as he did. And here you can see the thing dancing around on him as he comes down into turn 13, all the way back to first gear for these bikes. So a little bit bumpy on the way in early in the race, trying to push. And yeah, see him get in here with the boys.
All right, let's get down to Hannah because there's more stories happening here at the Ridge. Hannah?
A 6th overall placement, Corey Alexander's best of this season. He's racing in the Superbike Cup on his Stock 1000 machine that he won today's race in Stock 1000. Corey, what is it that's just really working for you that you found so much success today?
I honestly don't know. My guys have been working really hard, and it's been little stuff, and it seems like it's all finally come together. So most importantly, I have to give a special happy birthday to my mom. I was in a rush on the podium before and forgot it, but thanks to my whole team, Hudson Valley Motorcycles, HONOS HVMC racing team it's great. It's good.
Congrats. Thanks, Corey. Guys.
Yeah, I mean, he seems awfully fresh after racing 2 races in a day, but 6th place, what a job. More coming at you from the Ridge Motorsports Park when we come back.
Well, what a cracking race that was, the first HONOS Superbike race. We're down here in Parc Ferme. I was trying to see whether we could actually catch up with any riders. Unfortunately, they've all hot-footed it off to probably jump in an ice bath, and you wouldn't blame them after that one, would you? We were just looking down here at the tyres because I think for tomorrow in the HONOS Superbike race, the weather is going to improve. Not improve, it's going to get even hotter, isn't it? It couldn't get any more improvement on this. So I was quite interested just to have a little look at the rear tyres. We were looking down here at the rear tyre of Cam Peterson. Now, this is what it looks like at the end of race 1. We can't get the camera in to the Parc Ferme, but I don't know if the camera can just pan to the left and we can see the number 2 of Josh Herrin. I don't know whether we can pick up or how close we can get in on the camera looking at the tyre of Josh Herrin, who he said he hopes that tomorrow he'll have a little bit more to fight with. Looking at the difference, to me it looks like the Yamaha has worked the tyre a little bit more. And just walking past me now off camera, I'm just going to try and just grab him by the scruff of the neck, is Josh Hayes, a multiple champion down here. We're just sort of dissecting what we've just seen in that first HONOS Superbike race. Lots of talking points. The big one for me is the step forward by Josh Herrin, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you know, look at the season he's been having. He's starting to put the pieces together. He's said on the podium he's been working with you, he's been listening to you, and you know, he's making a bit of a joke about the fact that he used to kick his backside week in, week out. But what did you take from that from Josh? Because we know how fast he is, and he's certainly put the pieces together. That's the best performance we've seen from him all season.
You know, I mean, it's just trying to find the Josh that we know can go that fast and get him to focus on the right things, I think. So the speed's always been there. He's always been such an amazing talent. And focus, I think, sometimes has kind of been what's missing. And so the first thing is just helping him find his speed, I think. And then we'll figure out that, like, the race came together better than even I expected. I mean, we knew he had it in him. In 2018, we started seeing him ride really fast laps at the front by himself. And I even cold called him. I hadn't talked to him in a couple of years. And was like, man, I really like the work that you're doing back in 2018. And so went through a little bit of a around the world trip here and ends up back on this Yamaha, and he hasn't quite looked like he was at home. So we just kind of talked a little bit about some of the things that are going on, and seemed to hit one or two small things that resonated, and it's made a world of difference for him. So I think for the most part, it really isn't a whole lot of what I've done. So he has to do the work, and he's managed to do that. The hard part is, like, I've got so many guys out here, you know, because I've also got Bob Fong, Cam Peterson, and you know, and Matt Skoltz. I'm helping all these guys, and so it's an interesting thing to see how it all plays out. And you know, I worry a little bit about how I'm going to walk back through the paddock, but the idea is to help them be their best and let them sort it out on the track.
Okay, cheers. Well, I know you're going to be in the booth tomorrow with Robbie just before I do my mic on the mic, so thanks for talking to us. Let's just flick back around here, thanks to Josh Hayes. Let's just have another look at some of the other bikes down here, some of the bikes that maybe we didn't see in the race. We've got the Suzuki X-Star bikes here. Let's just have a look at the bike of Jason Uribe. Jason Uribe on the Fly ADR machine. He had an off in the first corner. He ran straight at the chicane, but he did regroup and get his first top 10 the first top 10 of the season. You can see his tyres as well. That's about all we've got time for down here in the paddock, because coming up next is the last race of the day. It is the Junior Cup race, the Sport Bike Trackgear.com race. It is promising to be a fantastic race here. We've seen an 18-wheeler, a 20-wheeler, 9, 10 bikes locked together. The final race of the day on MotoAmerica Live Plus and on Fox is going to be an absolute cracker. Stay with us and we'll bring the race action very soon.
Welcome back to the Ridge Motorsports Park. Let's get right to our championship point standings. Jake Gagne leads now by 32 points over our early season leader Matthew Sculpt, and Josh Herron in third spot. He continues to be in third spot, closing the gap there. All right, that'll do it for us for the Ridge Motorsports Park HONOS Superbike race number 1. We do it again tomorrow, 5 p.m. East on FS1. We expect to see you there. For Antelope and Jason Pridmore, I'm Greg White. Thanks so much for joining us. See you tomorrow.